Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and scholars. Welcome back to the Keiser Plus AI podcast. We have a distinguished guest today who I think is the leading actor in talent search for education, forget higher education. And I'm lucky to call this gentleman a longtime friend of our institutions and myself, Mr. Vincent Scaramuzzo. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Exciting stuff.
It's our honor. It's our pleasure. If you could just give us a spiel about what Ed-Exec does, what you've been doing for years to support education.
Yep. Ed-Exec is an executive search firm. We're headhunters, if you will. We specialize in the education space and really in a unique niche. We deal with schools that are not only in the trades and career focused, but that's our main niche, that career focus, getting students, getting them trained in in-demand fields and getting them out into the workplace very quickly. And that can range from a trade school right on up to schools that offer doctoral degrees because they're staying focused in in-demand jobs, in-demand fields, and that's really our space. Ground students, online students, everything in between, that's where we specialize. So we get to partner with schools, universities, and colleges there in Florida and across the country to help them find great talent to move their institutions forward. So we're blessed and lucky to be able to do that every day.
Well, thank you for the summary. I will say, as a client of Ed-Exec, it's been an incredible relationship. One of the things I can tell you about Ed-Exec, not make this a marketing tutorial, but I have to say it because I'm a big fan, is that when they place talent with you at the institution, they're doing a fit for culture. They are likely to be retained and they're likely to stay for a lifetime. So Keiser, Southeastern College, Primrose, we have used them multiple times. We will continue to do so. So this is truly a leader in this field and a visionary. So thank you, Vince, for being on. Again, it's an honor. So I want to jump right into AI conversation related to your world of talent acquisition, procurement, placement. What do you see as the biggest change of how AI has impacted your industry?
Yeah. It's made us better in a lot of ways. I think the ability for not only us, but even our partner institutions to be more data driven, to be more importantly, more scalable, and then just to be quicker in everything they do. So, it used to take us days or hours or months sometimes to put together appropriate lists to go target places. AI can help us put that together very quickly. Simple stuff, you're going to maybe thinking about hiring a candidate, and back in the days you'd have to call people you knew, right, to see do they have a good reputation, and then we used to Google them online and maybe see what their background was or look on LinkedIn. You can ask AI just to do a quick reputation search. Sure, it's not a formal background search, but if there's something out there in a newspaper article or something else, it'll find it very quickly. So it's helped us a lot, from identifying candidates, evaluating them, even improving the candidate experience. There's a lot of automations that institutions and hiring companies can use that, when partnered with real life people, recruiters like myself or hiring managers, can be very effective. And it's really been useful. It's changed things a lot.
And thank you for sharing your lived experience and talking about how AI is transforming your operations. I'm super curious for the individuals in the audience who may be looking for jobs, who may engage with Ed-Exec and say, hey, I'm looking for that next step, that advancement in my career. What is changing with job search because of AI? I read articles about how AI doesn't like other AI. So when you read resumes, well, maybe the GPT doesn't like the Claude resume. Can you talk about how you're preparing candidates so that they stand out in a mass of resumes that are online?
Yeah, and I'll get to the resumes in a second, but just from basic preparing to interview with a company, you used to have to look them up, do all kinds of research so that you came in prepared. No matter what AI service you're using, you can get a history. I can go, tell me all about Keiser University and their history. Tell me about what they're doing today. I can come in very well prepared. So for candidates, I recommend use that. Get well prepared. Know who you're interviewing with. Know everything about them, and you can do that so quickly now. I mean, seconds it can happen. In terms of the resumes, I think AI is a great tool. I don't have a problem telling candidates, put it into ChatGPT and see what it spits back. But then I think you need to take that and massage it a little bit, right? You have to have it be your own So I don't recommend leaving enough of it so that, like you said, one AI unit is arguing with the other or doesn't like the way it's formatted. Use it to help with spelling. It'll recommend to be more detailed. It'll say, can you give me some numbers here? Maybe you brought things from A to Z, you brought them from 50% to 70%, whatever that might be. Let it give those recommendations, and then you open it in Word, type it yourself, make those modifications. Even though, I use ChatGPT a lot, so I refer to it, but even though it can put it in Microsoft Word for you or put it in a PDF, I might not go that extra step. And if you just use it as a tool for some advice, write it yourself, save it yourself, then I think you'll avoid some of those pitfalls.
Okay, thank you. That makes plenty of sense. And I love that you're coaching the candidates with this. And obviously that gives your candidate pool a leg up on the competition, as I see so many resumes. We just posted for a dean position. We literally got over 102 resumes, and you can tell the difference with quality. Those are using AI and those who are not. So it's really creating a schism between those who are implementing this new technology and those who are not. I wanted to ask you, Vince, if you are working with presidents of colleges, campus presidents, provosts, whatever it may be, what is the skill they're most looking for related to AI? Is there a resume builder that you recommend to all candidates that are now searching in this new era?
No, I don't think there's anything I would default to and say, go to this resume builder. I think most executives, I'm recruiting typically at the executive or at the director level. So these are folks who've been doing this for a while. They're not new candidates in the marketplace. So they usually have a resume, right, that they've been building for years. And it's probably generally pretty good, but could be better. And that's where I talked about using AI to make it better. I think for entry level folks, if you wanted to have it just, they've never written a resume before, it'd be great for the formatting. And then maybe look to a mentor or someone else, again, to add some lines, change a few things so that it's not so AI driven, because I have seen it on the other side, and even myself as a hiring manager, when you read something and it's become too clear that it's been written by AI, it's a turnoff, because you just don't know who you're interviewing, right, where they're coming from, do they have the qualifications? So you can pick that up pretty quickly. I'm sure AI will get good enough where you can't pick it up, but I think that's a good skill to be able to represent yourself. So I think the blend of both is still the win once again.
Okay, thank you. And back to job search again, and it doesn't have to be AI related, but I think the audience would want to know, you hear so much about disruption, whether it's the loss of jobs associated with AI, which right now is not happening as much, which I'm very happy about, because I do think there is going to be a displacement issue at some point, or the creation of new jobs, which we all hope for in the near future. Is there a job posting in education? Again, it doesn't need to be AI related, but if it is, I'm sure the audience would like to know, that you see pop up more and more that maybe 5 years ago didn't exist.
Good question. I think a lot of the frontline help, if you will, admissions counselors, financial aid. When I talk to schools, they're struggling. Even certain program directors, instructors, people on the front line in the campuses. Maybe not so much AI related, but on campus related. Where if it's a physical campus, you need these people there. They have to give tours. They have to meet with students. There's not as much maybe online, possibilities there. Hiring managers are really struggling to find those folks, and that might be part AI, right? Part cultural shift. I'm not sure. Maybe still coming out of COVID, but you do still need people to be there, and they're struggling. I think they're struggling with that, and I don't know. Maybe AI is influencing folks to not want to go back to the office, or convincing them, everything can be done virtually, but some of the stuff still can't. And I don't buy into AI is going to wipe out a zillion jobs. I do think it may eliminate some jobs, but wherever that vacuum creates is usually a surplus on the other side, right? So if AI eliminates jobs, well, who's going to run the AI? Who's going to interpret it? So you have to have, they'll just be different jobs. If you look at the job market, follow the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're still in this red hot job economy. I think, you get a couple CEOs from some of these big tech companies that say, oh, we're laying off this many people because of AI. We're laying off here. Well, really, they're just right-sizing and readjusting and sharpening what they do. They probably use it as an excuse, because I'm not seeing it in the overall job numbers. I don't know if maybe you guys are, but it seems like talk to small, medium, large size business owners, hiring great talent is still, still their biggest problem.
We are with you with everything you said. The first is modality related. It is harder to find talent who wants to work 5 days a week on ground, but in many jobs, it's still required. You're running a nursing program. A lot of that instruction is going to be on ground. Mm-hmm. You're going to need instructors to come to campus, right? But the dichotomy is real. We get almost 2-to-1, 3-to-1 apps for online modality or hybrid to on ground. And people want that flexibility. And I do think you're right. It's probably an offshoot of the pandemic more than anything else, even though there is more of a return to work experience at 2020 at least. And then related to jobs, we are hiring. We are growing at Keiser, our labor force. Actually, I even saw Microsoft recalled some employees because when they went to automated agentic workflow, it became more expensive than actually having the humans do those jobs. So whether it's cost, whether it's AI is not perfect yet, which I think we should all be happy about, because what I like to say, this is the worst the technology will ever be. So let's let it be bad for a little bit or not as good, because we still want humans to win out at the end of the day. But we believe at Keiser, and I believe personally, that the best use case of AI is augmenting human intelligence. So add subject matter expertise of humans plus AI, and you're going to get your best use case. So it actually has made me busier. I think it's made everyone else on my team busier. So we have not seen the job displacement yet. And I hope from your lips to God's ears, we don't see as much as they talk about.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay. I mean, just in my field of executive recruitment, headhunters, Monster.com was going to wipe us out. And it didn't wipe us out. And then Career Builder and Indeed. But Monster was the really big one. I remember that one. That was kind of during the tech boom. I'll date my age here a little bit of Y2K, where all these jobs had to be hired, and then Monster came, and then it was LinkedIn was going to kind of knock us out, right? So now it's AI is going to knock the recruiters out. And I just don't buy it. I think it's a people business. If I could, I was just super curious. I had a question for you, because I don't know if it's state driven, politically driven, if it's just institutions and what they embrace and what they don't. Unofficially, what's your vibe of the students? Do you feel like they're embracing AI? They're excited about it? Up here in New England, I feel like they're afraid of it and they're shunning the AI. I don't know if that's a regional thing or a national thing or just the type of institutions, but it seems like there's a lot going on there, talking about how much water it's going to use. And I mean, to the point where we have family friends where if you send them something that was generated with AI, they don't want to open it. They're offended. And to me, that's kind of crazy talk. I mean, I grew up I remember being in school in the late 80s, and my dad was very into computers early on, and I did a report and I turned it in on a dot matrix printer because I had access to a computer. I mean, we're talking a Commodore 64, and the teacher wouldn't accept it because it wasn't typed on a typewriter. You could see the dot matrix. I'm like, but it's printed. So the argument today that students are making about, some students anyway, seem to be making about AI, to me is just as crazy. Like, you have to embrace this technology. It's coming. And then it was the internet in college. They started, you couldn't go on the internet for certain things. And then, of course, we all go on the internet now. You referenced the math calculators in certain math classes. My son has one in class in high school. It's welcomed. I feel like AI is the same thing, but something's going on with this generation of students that at least the younger ones seem to be, really, it's a popular thing to shun AI. Is that happening with your students? Is it a mixed bag? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that. First, I want to say with the whole Monster.com thing, Vince would never say this because he's one of the more humble people I know, but he was the monster in talent recruitment. So that was the real Monster.com was Vincent Scaramuzzo, but neither here nor there. Yeah, you would never say that. I'm going to say that for you. So anyhow, so that's a dad joke for the audience. I have 3 daughters, so there you go. In terms of student, how do they feel? Is it phobia? Are they embracing it? It definitely varies. I think that, and I think I could say this and not get in too much trouble, but politically, Florida is different than Connecticut, where sure. I know you are. So the environmental...
Just fact, yeah.
Fact, right? Like, I don't think I'm doing anything too crazy here to try to steer away from politics and higher ed. But the environmental concern in Florida, at least, where most of our campuses are not a real thing. So we're not worried about birds or migratory patterns of whales, or obviously all joking aside, but pollution of the water, because that's a real concern with
Sure.
AI data centers. But that's not as much of the concern, or I would say there is concern from a municipal perspective about the cost of energy production. That's a real
Sure.
thing. At UCF, normally I wouldn't name them on a podcast like this, but at that other university in Central Florida, we had a commencement speaker, and they booed that individual off stage when she said that AI is the next industrial revolution. So it is pervasive, AI phobia. I tend to agree with you. I think it's a bit of Luddism, and I think it's a result of the hype machine that the AI magnets have created. Because it's what the Howard Stern, whether it's good or bad, everyone watches and listens, right?
Still, yeah.
So I think that's what's happening with AI. Whether you're absolutely terrified about AI, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, they're going to beat that drum, right? Or if you're like, I need to know this because I am so excited about the future that this create, or I can be a one-man billion-dollar business, which is part of the marketing that I have seen, then people are going to buy and people are going to consume. And the largest companies in the entire world and country are bankrupting themselves to have the best AI.
Sure.
So I think there's a hype machine that's going on, and students are buying into that because we're such victims of social media and what we consume, and it can be relatively toxic. But with that being said, I think that at Keiser, especially because we have an adult learner, they already see it in the workforce.
Yeah.
So I think that the dichotomy, a lot of it is the 18 to 21-year-old demographic who have not been in the workforce, and they're saying, I'm not going to have entry-level jobs. I'm not going to get that finance job at UBS because they're not going to need analysts anymore. I'm not going to get that paralegal job right out of law school before I take the bar. So I think there's a difference with the age, because our adult learners are already seeing it in the workforce. And what I typically hear, and what we have, our survey results said is, you need to teach AI application to industry. And that's what we're doing at Keiser. We're embedding it across all of our curriculum, not just standalone AI certs or programs, because there's not a single industry that's not going to be impacted by this technology. And so when I do have those conversations with students, and I do meet with all of our grad students at least once monthly, and they provide this feedback, this is what they said. They said, we need to learn with this. We need to be using this tool. And we get on our professors to not treat this as just a risk to academic integrity. Yeah. They need to modify the way they teach. They need to modernize. But then, and this is what I tell the students. Most of our students want it. They understand it's whether they like it or not, it's here to stay. And it's going to be a part of their life and the industry forever. But what I do tell them is that you still need to know the subject matter expertise. Like, I can vibe code, a design for a bridge, but I would tell you not to walk that bridge because it's going to be AI slop, it's going to break, and everyone's not going to do so well, right? So yeah, you can have a nice product, but if you don't actually have the subject matter expertise, that end product will not be operational. And then additionally, what I worry about is what I call creating functional idiots. And I do tell the students this, especially the grad students. I go, do not be a functional idiot. And they say, what is that? Well, you're going to write like Shakespeare or Mark Twain when you turn in your papers, okay? Because we understand you're going to use AI. And we support that, right? And we're going to modernize how we teach. So instead of, the papers being 90% of the grade, how about your oral presentation being 90% of your grade? Or the critique of that paper being 90% of the grade, right? So we can do this where we're still creating learning, but don't do all your work with AI and then get to your licensure exam and not know anything and then fail. Don't get into the workforce after, Vince helped you find that great job, and then you don't know how to apply your knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're guarding against. But I think the adult learners, as opposed to the 18 to 21-year-old, are more ready to embrace this technology, which is surprising because it's technology. So typically you think the younger people are ready to go. But there is phobia. I would say we see it probably less in Florida than the Northeast.
Yeah, it was interesting. I saw another commencement speech. It was some comedian giving it, and he was like, your job is to kill AI. And I'm going, and again, it's doomsday scenarios. I had to look to see, was that an AI video? Because I wasn't sure if it was if it was real, but I mean, I think it's just super useful. In healthcare, it's interesting. We just had
Absolutely.
my wife went through some medical stuff, and you just wanted to double check stuff, and AI was telling us pretty much the prognosis we had, and the treatment was like exactly what we should be doing, and it just, if anything, it just made you feel better. In hiring, I talked about it, even for new students, right? Applying for jobs, you don't know anything about the companies, you research the company. You can find out if it's a horrible company to work for. You don't have to go to 5 different websites and look at reviews and were they written by bots or were they paid reviews. You can kind of sort through that to say, is this a place I want to work? Is the culture there match what I'm looking for? It can help you with your resume a little bit. It can give suggestions on your experiences. We were putting together some stuff. My son's a junior, so this summer I think the Common App will be open to him, and you start filling that out. And it was, we were just putting in stuff like what would position us best, and it was telling him, hey, make sure you talked about those. You worked that summer job. That's going to be 4 years of that. Make sure you get a letter of recommendation from that person because they're in the state where you want to go to school. So on and so forth. So I think when used appropriately, I'm seeing it in the high schools, at least here in Connecticut. I don't see a lot of typed papers anymore. I do see some handwritten papers, or the papers happen in class. So we study it. There's a lot of projects leading up to it. So they might have all the materials, and then in an 88-minute class, they're going to put them together and write that into the final presentation. So you can't really, you can't AI that all the way, right? You're going to have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. And my take on that, look, I get it. My alma mater, GW, they're blue booking their way out of this AI era, it looked like. I understand that is AI resistant. But the reality is the students are never going to write a paper again without a computer. Who's going to do that? And I think there's a time and place for foundational learning. By the time you get to university, if you can't write a 5-paragraph paper, which, look, Vince, we can talk about K through 12 all day long, but and it might not be the case that they can't actually do that by the time they get to college. You're already in trouble, I would say. And my thought is then you got to teach the prompting behind the writing. You got to teach, think of the questions, make the questions more about lived experience. I challenge the faculty this way: paper about Civil War, Stonewall Jackson's conquest. We'll talk about how you, as a person who has overcome adversity, relate to Stonewall Jackson's challenges as a general for the Confederacy.
Sure.
You can, fine. You can use AI and you can talk to GPT or Claude or Perplexity, whatever, but you're still you're using your creative brain. You're using your critical thinking. I don't think that the practice of making students write papers physically is going to stand the test of time. And do I think it'll make us dumber? Honestly, yeah, I do. I say this all the time. People ask me, is AI long-term good for us? And I'm a huge proponent of AI. I use it every day, all the time, leading this AI integration for the university. I said, for society at large, probably not a great thing. One, I think it's going to be an accessibility issue. It's going to, really exacerbate the K-shaped economy. Mm-hmm. If you're in Nicaragua and you make $1,100 US dollars per year, unless you work for a big company, you're not going to have access to buy Perplexity computer for $2,500 a year. It's just not feasible for you. So those countries like Israel, Western Europe, United States, China are going to blow by, the rest of the world. And then the same thing in this country. The biggest companies with the most resources are going to have the best AI. And that capacity for operational efficiency, productivity is going to be enormous. But you also look at social media. The promise was we'd be more connected. I remember Facebook when it first came out, right? We were all excited because we could find our college roommate that we haven't talked to in years and reconnect and have beer. Well, it was supposed to make us more connected and have more friends. And now we find with the kids, after 15, 20 years of use, there is more FOMO, there is more anxiety, there is more loneliness than ever before. And that's a product of social media. So we don't know the pros and cons of AI use. And actually, Anthropic, we had a demo with them. They're not allowing anyone under 18 to use their product, which is very interesting because they don't know the longitudinal effect of that. But with that being said, Google, although we have access to all this information, we are now dumber than we used to be. And I say it this way, if you don't believe it, I remember my father saying, don't use GPS because you won't know how to get around. He was absolutely right. My sense of direction is way worse than it used to be. But the reality is, and this will be true for AI, it just won't matter. Like I use Waze to go from office to home because I don't want to get a speeding ticket, not even know where I'm going, because I'm going to drive too fast, right? And I know where the cops are. So I think that those who don't use AI are going to be the first that left behind. So whether you like it or not, or you think it's good or not, and that's why I tell the students, it doesn't matter. If you want to make more money, if you want to get promoted, if you want to have a big career, you're gonna have to use it. It doesn't matter the industry you're in, whether you like it or not, whether you want to give it to your kids or not. Like you can figure that out later. And yeah, we're gonna know less information, but at the end of the day, it's our pocket consultant. It's with us wherever we go. We're consulting it.
It's a great fact check. I mean, in all the social media lies and falsehoods going around, it's a great fact check on the spot a lot of the time. I do think there will be somewhat of a point of diminishing return, as of right now, and it may go to another level, but as of right now, AI is only as good as the information it can gather, right? From the internet, from scouring social media and all the different places and put that together for its best answer, right? Encyclopedias, it has access to all of that. But the human race is what brought us to 2026, right? To brought us to this level of technology, right? This level of education, of understanding. So you're still going to need us to move it forward. And, I think we had talked about, or maybe we emailed about, like, what are the human skills, right? And how do those combine with AI? Well, that fact check is great. It's great to have that information, but boy, I certainly hope in schools, I know they did when I went to schools, that ability to interface with people, to have the personal connections and relationships, like you said, that are getting further and further apart, to be able to read nuance, right? Whether it be in writing, you and I are reading the nuance in writing and noting that it's AI because we grew up without AI. Will the people who grow up in AI have that ability to tell the difference or not? I guess to be determined, but the point is you can use it as a great tool. But I hope the schools start teaching more and more, or practicing, I guess, if you will, those interfaces with people, the interpersonal skills, the getting up in front of a room and talking to people in the marketing class, all the things that you used to, or the advertising class, whatever it might be, that I remember doing in school. Because to me, when I see some of these entrepreneurs talk about those types of people and how you talk about a K economy, they're going to be at the top, they're going to slay the future, if you will. Those are going to be the ones. If you're just behind the AI, if you're just behind the computers, you're going to have a big problem, right? You have to be able to get front and center. So it's a tremendous tool. It's just a tremendous tool for hiring, for education, and it's just everybody's got to just keep embracing it. And there'll be some guardrails. We'll hit some bumps along the way, but I think it'll pan out more positive than negative for sure.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Vincent. And look, you're the gentleman that knows. You talk to the companies that are hiring, you talk to the candidates. I think it's those emotional quotient, that EQ skill that's going to carry the day in the future, which I'm here for. I am absolutely here for. I'm excited about. And, for the viewers, I don't think I'm old. You'll probably say I'm old. I got 3 daughters, so, whatever. But I think it's actually regressive that men and women don't go to restaurants and bars and meet each other, and all they do is swipe. I don't think that's a good phenomena for our society. Like the kids will say, like, go touch grass, go outside, like go to a park, go. I mean, Vince, I don't know what it's like for you, but like when I made friends, I would go out into the neighborhood and play a game of basketball. Yeah. And I didn't know what schools they went to. I didn't know what socioeconomic demographic. I didn't have all this marketing demographic analysis before I even talked to this person and knew what their favorite dish was to eat. I just met them as a human and got to be friends. And I think those skills are missing in today's age. So if that's what AI brings, where the companies that win, that the people that win and slay the future, as you said, are going to be those who relate better, who build rapport better, who have that emotional intelligence, I actually think that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, I agree. going to bounce around. I'm not going to even get started because you talked about the social aspect. I got enough.
Stay away on the podcast.
Save it for another. You can cut it out. We'll save it for another podcast.
Right, well, yeah. Well, no, we can edit it out in worst case scenario.
The social detriment of the decline in smoking and drinking.
Oh.
It's been a big. It sounds ridiculous because nobody should smoke. Like you're going to get cancer, right? It's not going to end well. I know there's always that one grandfather who lived to 97 and smoked a cigarette every day, but it doesn't. But I remember in high school we had a smoking section, and there would be 15, 16 students outside the cafeteria, Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx, New York.
Shout out to Michael Academy.
We all had our shirt and ties on. And they were passing around cigarettes, and guess who would be out there with them? A couple of teachers.
Oh.
Conversations about sports, the Yankees, whatever it might be, was going on in that circle. By the way, they were all out there in the freezing cold in December, right, in New York. But they were talking, they were communicating, and these were teachers and students who would have never had conversations, perhaps, right? Just they had this smoking in common. Now, again, I don't think we should all start smoking, but yeah, there's some social things that have been lost, going to a bar and, approaching a woman for a date, these kind of things, they don't happen anymore. So it's, that's a whole other.
No, but look, I'm with you. Vince won't say it. I'll say it's fun for the podcast. Chivalry is dead because of this stuff. I can relate. At GW, you would have drinks. I won't say how many because we all know what college was like. And people were having a cigarette, smoking a bogey outside, and that was social. And that's how you got to know people from different dorms. And, the kids don't have that kind of experience. And that was the stuff that traditional higher ed, okay, and then just generally society, but traditional higher ed, when you said, I want a holistic experience, I want to get to grow as an adult, to find what my calling is in life. It wasn't just in the classroom. I mean, half the great CEOs, you're like, did you even go to class? And all the students who are listening, who are mine, go to class, guys. Absolutely. But with that being said, it's those experiences outside of the classroom, getting to know each other as humans. That's where there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of maturity building that happens. So I'm with you. And let's get back to let's get back to your world. Okay. Where do you see this all going? You being at the tip of talent recruitment and placement, where is the next 5 years?
Yeah, I was going to give you some bad and good, right? Because not all the AI is good, and it falls into the next 5 years. So I am seeing it go a little too far, and I see candidates kind of complaining about it on LinkedIn a lot. They go through this process, and then they get hit with, I even think some of the job boards like Indeed is using some AI on the front end. You can program questions and things like that they have to answer. I can tell you as a hiring manager, like most people just collect whatever they want anyway, so it's not really helping the hiring managers. But then, there's some pretty sophisticated softwares out there where stage one of the interview will either be AI or it'll be something to the effect of you get these AI questions and then you're looking at a video like this and you're recording your answer. To me, that's AI gone too far. That's technology gone too far. It's just too, maybe if you had, 10% unemployment rate and everybody needed a job, well, then maybe you can get away with that. But I think if you're going to differentiate yourself as a hiring, company or institution or hiring authority out there, you have to have some interaction. I do think it's great. So that's gone too far, right? That stuff is just too far where it's 2 or 3 steps before you even meet with somebody. And then you talk to somebody and their talent acquisition, and they have programmed 10 questions that they're asking you. So we're still not into the meat and potatoes yet. And then when you finally jump through these hoops, I finally get to, Dr. Robert Keiser, the hiring authority, right? And I get to have an interview with him. And well, now we've gotten into the meat and potatoes, but I might have given up along the way. I might have gotten another job along the way, or just said, this is too much. This is a hassle. This isn't interesting to me. If this is how they do their hiring, do I want to work there? Flip side, hiring authorities. The bad part of AI is everybody can apply to everything in 2 seconds. It's almost like the Common App in college where these students don't even go see the schools because their parents will pay the money. They just apply to 25 schools. They have no interest in maybe going to more than 5 of them. And they're wasting these admissions offices' times with all these applications. I know that's kind of more traditional, I think Kaiser Ground campus.
No, but it absolutely is.
adult education.
residential. That's what I did when I was going to college. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I took my son on some college tours, and students are there, and they're like, "Who's been accepted?" And the students are raising their hand. I'm like, "Why are they seeing this for the first time if they've already been accepted? Because they just applied." I think it's the same thing with job postings, right? So, Kaiser's posting a bunch of jobs. People are just clicking apply, apply, apply. AI is allowing them. Sometimes it's even twisting their resume around to fit all of those different jobs, and they're applying to all of them. I dare you to call one of them up out of the blue, and nobody answers the phone anymore. If they actually answer a phone, they'll have no idea what they applied to half of the time. They don't even remember what they applied to. Oh, which one was that? When did I apply to that? So that's AI, now hurting the hiring authority, right? We hurt the candidate, right, because we've got too automated. Now on the other side, we're hurting the hiring authority because it's too automated for the candidate, and they can click to everything too quickly. But then again, we can also help the hiring authority because we can put up some screening AI questions. Are you still interested in this? There could be a sequence of text messages or emails. Do you remember applying to this position? Here's the job description. Are you still interested? Would you like to schedule a call with a talent acquisition person? Here's their calendar. Okay, now I'm putting it all on them versus the talent acquisition person spending all day chasing their tail around, chasing these people. All right, now the person knows what they're applying to. They click it, they get on the calendar, and they talk to them. So that's where I see it going, where we start to use this a little smarter. We don't get so extreme with it, where it's helping both sides. It's helping, like I said, helping the applicant, right? Helping them with their resume, helping them with their experience, helping them sort out which companies are a good fit for them, maybe even finding jobs on the job boards for them, right? Show me the most recent, the jobs that are posted in the last 48 hours, right? I don't want to apply to ones that have been out there for 6 weeks, stuff like that. And they might sort those for you. And then the hiring managers, some of the initial screening, but tactfully, appropriately, and then getting to a motivated candidate who actually wants to interview. So that's where I see this continuing to go. I see it as a facilitation to have meaningful meetings happen, right? Meaningful relationships, meaningful interviews that actually have substance to them with interested candidates and interested hiring managers. That's when hires happen, right? And right now there's just a lot of noise that's really stopping that from happening. It's been phenomenal for the last 21 years for my business because that noise keeps us really busy. Just in full disclosure, sometimes we work on positions where if clients had the resources and the time and enough full-time people to sort through the noise, they could probably make the hire on their own. I just don't know that it would save any money because you'd have to have all those full-time employees and you'd have to have all those resources. So yeah, are they there? But who's gonna go out and explore into the jungle before you get to the open field and you find what you're looking for? But I do think, it will get better, and it's getting better already as it goes. So that's where I see it going in the next 5 years, where in much quicker fashion, we're having really meaningful interviews and meetings that lead to good things.
And I think there's so much wisdom in what you said. Just a couple of things. You were talking about this deluge of applications that the applicant doesn't even know what they applied for. Not to give anyone any ideas, because we absolutely hate this at the institution, but student complaints. You can write anything now, and you sound like an attorney. Sure. 99% of them are frivolous, but it's just so easy to do. So I think in every facet of life, you're going to just see so much content created. How many new apps are going to be created? How many new websites? All these, it's just going to be overload, sensory overload. And then I think cutting through that noise, as you said, is to find signal is going to be so important. But then additionally, I think the promise of AI, hopefully, and this is what we're trying to do at the institution, is to reduce the bandwidth issues that our staff, our faculty have, so that you can have those real meaningful conversations, those really meaningful moments that separate humans and robots, humans and AI, and get you to what really matters to your organization.
Yeah, I think that's where we're heading. I like it to move a little quicker. I think we all would, but we have to get through it. At the end of the day, it's like you said, I think like AI, it's really good. It's just not, it's great for some things. It's not all the way there yet. I can't put into AI, give me a list of every campus president for a private nonprofit in the state of Florida that has this blah, blah, blah program. It doesn't do it. It can't do it yet. I still have to go through other means and get my researchers on it and say, can you put me together a list of this? And then a person still has to do it. I think AI will get there, and I think that's great. And then instead of me training the researcher to be able to do that research, well, now maybe if I can click a button and get that research, well, now I'm going to train them how to actually get on the phone with those people and recruit them and have real world conversations. So that's what I was talking about. Like, you eliminate one job, you create another. And honestly, if I can train that person to be a recruiter, that's a higher paying job than being the researcher.
Absolutely.
That's a big commission-based headhunting job. So I think that'll be a good thing. And I'm sure that mimics itself across healthcare and law and accounting and education and everything else.
Yeah, and we agree with that. At Keiser, we're trying to be the hub of not only upskilling, as we think we're a national leader in that regard, but also the hub of reskilling. Training these people who are excellent. They have so much talent. They have so much charisma, intellect, so they can do another job. Let's not pigeonhole ourselves. Humans have an incredible elasticity to learn. So I love that comment. So I'm going to end the hostage situation soon. Vincent, you've been amazing. I got one real question, then I got a baby question I got to ask. Okay, so the real question is, what is the question you wish I asked or thought I was going to ask that I didn't ask?
Good question. I thought you might ask if it enabled me to downsize here. Like, do I need less staff because of that?
That would have been a lot. Well, my AI prompt wasn't good when I thought about my interview questions. There you go. So how about you? Yeah.
More or less, the answer is no. We haven't downsized anybody. Okay. It's just again, it's just been a tool for us to get on the phones, and that's still where our money is. Although I don't know, this next generation, you talked about chivalry and men and women and everybody meeting, and I see them on these videos and they meet and they ask for their Snapchat or their Insta. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just get their phone number? It just seems so much faster.
I'm with you, man. I like
it. An app. It's a whole.
Or you're literally right in front of that person. Just talk to them now. It's okay.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but yeah. I would ask if it's influenced our business. Have we had to hire more or less? And it's been the same. I just hope we can. My goal, and we have a little bit, I think, is to do more with what we have. That would be the goal here, and I think we're trending towards that. I take on a new university client. I used to have to go do all the research, and as you know, when we recruit for a position and we actually get a candidate who might be interested or might be a good fit for it, part of it is we have to get on our soapbox, right? And I have to tell them all about Keiser University. I start from the history. I work them all the way through and what they've become today, because I'm building the story of what you can be part of, right? And it's continuing to go up, right? So you're going to continue to go up with it. I don't say that, but that's what's implied. Now I can ask AI on a school I've never worked with before, give me the history of the school and why someone might want to work there. And then it's usually pretty good. Again, I'm not going to copy and paste. I then have to do a little bit of my own research, but it gives me a framework to jump off from. I'd be lying if I said I didn't use it in some capacity. And I still have to be able to get on the phone, right, and do it live. I can't read off a script.
Right.
So it works really good. But yeah, that was the one. But no, haven't fired anybody. What was the other question? Yeah.
All right, here's the fun question. All right, so at the time of this podcast recording, the Knicks are up 2-0 over the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals. This gentleman is from Connecticut, which is basically baby New York. Are you a Knicks fan, Vince?
Well, so I grew up. The short answer is I root for New York, but I can't take credit as a Knicks fan. I'd be a fan.
Okay.
I was born in the city of Mount Vernon, New York. I grew up in Yonkers, New York, which is Lower Westchester County. Went to high school and college in the Bronx, right? So I'm a New York guy.
And your brother's a cop in the Bronx, right?
Yeah, Yonkers now. He went to our
Yonkers. Okay, but you're a New York dude. So, but you're not a Knicks fan?
So it was I think when I was in grammar school, it was the 80s, so we were watching a lot of Lakers, it was Magic.
You're a Showtime Lakers fan.
Worthy and Cooper, so we kind of got into the Lakers then, and again I was front running then as well. So I don't really have a basketball team, but being from New York, of course, we're gonna front run the Knicks, right?
All right. Well, I'll ask the question, and you tell me, either way, whether you're a Knicks fan or not. I'm a Knicks hater full disclosure audience, because I live in South Florida, so I grew up watching Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell brutalize my Miami Heat. My wife's from New York. My brother-in-law is the biggest Knicks fan. He's going to have a Knicks Wu-Tang Clan collab jersey on tonight, and I'm going to just not look at him the whole night. But that's fine for all the Knicks fans here, and not Vince, but that's okay. Knicks sweep, or are the Spurs going to give them a series?
Yeah, I think it looks like a sweep.
Wow.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is pretty historic. Now, I will be now as a diehard Yankee fan, and I think there's a lot of Knicks fans who are diehard Yankee fans.
Yes.
You proceed with caution. You've been up 3-0. We've seen a New York team up 3-0 and lose a championship, or lose
I know he's a sports fan, because that is exactly what battered sports fans say. I don't know what it's like to play in big games as a Dolphins fan. But like as a Heat fan and an Inter Miami fan, I can say, yeah, proceed with caution. But that is the hot take of the day. Thank you, Vince, so much for being a guest on the Keiser Plus AI podcast. If you haven't checked out Ed-Exec, you have to. They are a leader in talent acquisition, talent recruitment. We have used them for years. We swear by them, and we will continue to do so. Again, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. And ladies, gentlemen, and scholars, it's been another episode. We appreciate you tuning in. You take care.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.